We represent the South's last best places, and the stewards of these lands are America's true conservation heroes. Whether it's our famed quail plantations and high-quality recreational lands, islands and coastal properties, unique ranches and farms, or even our trademark social storm properties, what the places we represent all have in common is they have high intrinsic value. For over 30 years we've developed this niche, becoming its ambassadors and building it in what it is today. So many landowners now trust us to show their land's highest value, rely on our buyer Rolodex, and benefit from our concierge marketing that we close an average of $500,000 a day, 7 days a week. Today, our lands are consistently in the national spotlight and universally recognized by investors worldwide. In order to share this lifestyle with even more people, we went beyond the role of a broker to produce this short film series. We share the landowner's experience, take a peek at what the next chapter may hold, or even look back generations to discover the secrets that led us here today. These are our lands, lifestyle, and legacy. We are Jon Kohler Associates. Join us as we give tribute to the land and the heroes that steward over these last great places. One of the joys of this short film series is shining a spotlight on America's true conservation heroes and giving them the recognition they deserve. Places that landowners with a dream have funded, trusted guides have shown the way, and managers working the land are the team that makes it all happen. Sometimes there are places that when it all comes together, it creates something so special that it surprises even me. Today's property is such a place. This is a testament to what happens when a dream turns into reality. Led by Tall Timbers, and despite being in a county with no wild quail, they've transformed 1,500 acres into role model quail habitat, brought in birds from Georgia, resulting in one of the highest wild quail populations in Alabama. Furthermore, the terrain, trees, and Cold Spring creeks here on all 3,650 acres contain some of the most beautiful and unique landscapes one will ever see. To top it off, the architecture is world-class, making sharing God's great creation with others that much more fun. The fact that it's also within 30 minutes of one of the South's finest cities, combined with all of the above, makes this one of the most attractive recreational properties in America. I hope this short film shares with you the excitement that I have for this great property. It's with great pleasure I welcome you to Triple Creek.
I'm Kevin Stump, and welcome to Triple Creek. Well, I had no idea this property was here. It wasn't for sale. Somebody that was working with me brought me up here, 5 minutes off the interstate, a beautiful hill that you can see the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I just couldn't believe it. It had everything that I had ever dreamed of. And it was just wonderful. It was a beautiful piece of property. And as I looked at the other adjacent pieces of property, I knew I had to have it. I knew I had an opportunity like nobody's had before, and that was to put a bunch of property together with lakes and streams that would be extremely special and that nobody else had in this part of Alabama. You know, I bought this property so I could do a few of the things that I really love. One of them is quail hunting, and one of them is turkey hunting. I've done some deer hunting, although wing shooting and turkey hunting are my favorite. I saw a property that could be converted into all those things that I love, fishing and hunting. And so that created a challenge which gave me a spark to make this the best I could make it. And that's how I and the people that worked with me went about it. You know, one of the first rules of anybody that worked here was not to leave a piece of trash anywhere on this 3,600 acres. And I would follow them. When the loggers were here, if they threw out a chewing gum wrapper out of their truck, I would find it the next morning. I would find them and I would tell them and remind them that I don't want any trash on this property. It's part of nature, it's part of what God gave us, and it's to be respected. There were no roads, no gates, no utilities, no buildings, except an old shed building, lean-to, on the property. And I think it was a combination of opportunity and challenge that drew me to this property. I knew what needed to be done, and we went about it methodically to bring all those assets to this property that makes it a prized piece of property. And then, of course, we had to have a family home here. And so we built this large home, much larger than I thought it was going to be. And thank heavens we did. It's been a meeting place for our family. We've had Thanksgiving dinners here, Christmases. We've just spent a considerable amount of time with our family when they were younger. So to build this house, we hired a Birmingham architect who was one of the best in town. And he spent a good bit of time with us designing it, or should I say my wife. And she loves antiques. And so we went about building it, and it turned out fantastic. The only disappointment for me was when they finished the house, I couldn't move in because my wife was so particular about the antiques she put in the house. So all the light fixtures had to be picked out by her, and it took her quite some time. I asked her, could you please put a Walmart light in the bathroom so I could stay there? But anyway, it turned out wonderful. I'm very proud of what she's done. I think I really like to take guests into the lodge. That lodge, which is 2 stories now and has 4-bedroom suites, started out as a 1-story cabin when we built it, and decided to increase the size of it. So we put a 2nd floor on it, which is a huge, great room with a kitchen that overlooks the lake and property and the foothills of the Appalachians. So that's a special place. I helped design it. I decorated it. A lot of wildlife in there and just reminders of the property, and when we harvested certain animals and so forth and so on. So it's a special place for me. And of course, because I'm so proud of what my wife did with this house that's full of antiques from all over, I love to show off the house to my guests. And they like seeing it, maybe shooting a game of pool. Turkey Creek, a beautiful creek. Wolf Creek, another really pretty creek that's large enough to actually do some really good fishing in. So the creeks were important for a number of reasons, just to have water flowing through the property, and to make it very attractive from a natural standpoint. Well, it's rolling hills. The property has rolling hills that flattens out into some pasture land. We were able to put fields on top of some of the plateaus for the quail brood fields, and it's just the rolling hills and the flatlands and the turkey woods and the pines that were here and that we planted just make it a fabulous piece of property. Well, it's like you've never seen. The hardwoods here are absolutely gorgeous. Big, provide a lot of feed for wildlife such as turkeys and deer, and they just are a tremendous asset to this property and its wildlife and natural looks. When I drive around this property, I get a tad sentimental. I'm the kind of guy that takes on a challenge, and not until he completes the challenge does he look back and see what's been done. And typically that's in a short period of time. I'm that passionate about what I choose to do. It makes me think back to the way this property looked when I bought it. It makes me remember and think about all the people that helped me do it. The foresters, the advisors, the quail people from Tall Timbers, the people that work with me and for me here. It's just a sentimental, and then you can't come to this property without looking up to God. God gave me this and gave the world this property, and it's just a wonderful gift. I'm an extremely blessed and fortunate person to be able to call this my property. Where this property is located is on surrounds an area that we have. I think the closest neighbor is at least 2 miles away, and that's north and south. East and west, it's over 3 miles. It's a very safe place, and we feel very comfortable here. We feel very safe here. My wife loves it here. So when Tall Timbers got involved here in the quail program, first of all, I trusted them and I believed in them. And they started giving us instructions of things we needed to do. And probably after the first year, I just scratched my head and said, wow, this is a lot more than I expected. But I was passionate and dedicated, to make this the best that it could be. And I knew in order to make it the best it could be, I needed to follow the experts' instructions. And so we did everything that they told us to do, when they told us to do it, and spent a lot of money. But sometimes you have to do that to be the best that it can be. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't do anything differently. As we've met this challenge, and there's still plenty more that can be done to make it even better. But as we've done this, we've learned a lot along the way. I've learned from the people that have worked for me. I've learned a ton about wild quail, but I wouldn't have done anything any differently. I think things were done at the right time. I love this property and the people that work for me so much that I would love to continue coming here and assisting the buyer in any way I can. This property holds a special place in my heart and will continue to be there. And I want to help the next owner take it to the next level. And there's a lot of easy opportunities to grow the plantation, the quail plantation, put in more lakes. This property holds everything anybody would want to continue to expand it and enjoy it. Oh, it's exciting that we have quail here that are counts that Tall Timbers does every spring and fall turn out to be consistently good for a piece of property that had no quail in 2017. We've grown it. We've done everything right, of course, to grow the population of quail. Quail are everywhere. We have 1,500 acre quail plantation with a lot of expansion opportunity. And then we have a lot of other property, and we find quail just about everywhere. We find them by the lodge, which is not really close to the plantation. We see them here at the house. So it's just exciting. Every time I see one, I have those same emotions that I do when I drive around the property. I remember the very first quail I saw here. I stopped my truck and just stared. Was so excited. After I took a picture, I texted everybody that I knew and everybody that had been involved with this property and sent them the picture. So it gives me goosebumps right now to think about that first quail I saw. Well, you know, the excitement from quail hunting at a place that you developed is unmatched by anything. It's kind of like tying a fly to fly fish with and catching a fish on it. It's that special. So I can't think there's anything like it. I used to be the kind of guy that I didn't understand what it meant to ride on the back of a Jeep and just watch the dogs work. And not too many months ago, I said to a couple of tall timbers guys that came here to quail hunt, I said, I get it now. I don't have to shoot 10 birds or 20 birds. I just have to watch. That's what's special, is to watch a covey of quail flush and the dogs working. And that's all I need. If I shoot one bird in a couple days, I'm totally happy. It's extremely rewarding to have coveys of wild quail flying on this property and in a county that haven't flown in Lord knows how long. I hope my wife's not watching this video or she doesn't see it, but I have spared no expense for the quail plantation, the surrounding property, the woods, the herbicide every year, the burning every year, everything that needs to be done. I might hesitate for a few hours or even a day, but my manager knows, I think, that I'm going to come back with a yes, because that's typically what happens. At some point, when you've taken on a project and a challenge like this, money's really not important anymore. The important part is getting it right and doing it right just for your own feeling of warmth that you did things right. And so that's been our approach since day one.
My name is Josh Guthrie. I manage Triple Creek. I've always had a passion for wildlife. I followed that, went to Auburn University and got a degree in wildlife science there, and then continued on and applied and went to Texas A&M in their master's program. And that's just, I've always been driven to be in the outdoors. I've always loved it. There's a piece about being outside and being able to do your work in the outdoors. And that's one of the things that everyone remarks if you bring them out here. They're like, wow, this place exists right here. So it's kind of a hidden gem, a secret. The best thing about Triple Creek is just the variety of habitat types that we have here. And it's obvious we have the quail plantation, 1,500 acres, but we also have, uplands, lowlands, so many hardwood bottoms that creep up into the plantation. So you're getting those views of the different habitat types and timber on the property. One of the best things, I know a lot of people go to quail hunt in South Georgia. You've got the flatlands down there, but when you go quail hunting out here and you're on top of one of those rises and you can look down and see the dogs working on the side of the hill, that's a view you don't get, in South Georgia and other quail plantations in that area. It can sustain, your deer populations, your turkey populations, and the quail. We've got doves all over the place, and opportunities down in the south part of the property for duck holes. So there's a lot of opportunity there to manage any game species you would want to in this part of the world. You can look in the lodge and see the bucks on the wall. We've got some great genetics here, and we can increase those opportunities in several different ways to have more trophy bucks harvested each year. When the guests come in, I always greet them. I meet them over at the lodge, take them in, try to make them feel welcome at home, offer them drinks and make sure they've found their rooms and get situated. I explain to them about the time that we'll start. I'll go back, load the quail buggy up with the dogs. We have a guide that we use, and he brings 4 or 5 of his own dogs, and we'll cycle in 3 of our dogs with him. Typically, we'll pick the guests up, we'll take them out on the buggy. We've got 6 or 7 quail courses that we'll hunt, and I alternate those week to week, so we're not hunting in one course, every week. And a lot of times we'll have 2 hunters on the ground with a guide at a time. They can follow along with the guide and walk if they like, or they can ride in the buggy, and we can hunt off the buggy once we have a covey pointed. They can get down, go, and shoot the covey rise. And we'll do that usually for 2 to 3 hours in the afternoon and 2 to 3 hours in the morning. Once we wrap up at dark, or when the morning hunt's over. At nighttime, a lot of times I'll go back and I'll cook them steaks and baked potatoes and just make sure that they feel at home and welcome. And then we'll wrap up that night. I'll meet them in the next morning and we'll start that all over again. It takes intensive management to do it right. And that's what Kevin has always wanted to do. It's never been an issue for him if I need something, or if Tall Timbers recommends we do something, we do it as soon as we can. But it is rewarding to look back and see what you've been able to sustain. As I mentioned before, one of the key aspects to managing for quail, especially where we are at, is predator management. And we have intensive predator control. We run 100 live traps year-round, 365 days a year, but all those traps have radio telemetry on them. And we've got a receiver. I can go in the morning, turn it on, and I can run through 100 traps in about 5 minutes. And that cuts the man hours down dramatically. A lot of plantations will have one guy, that's all he does every day, 6, 7 hours a day, is run trap lines, but I can check them in about 10 minutes. And the cost savings are great. It was an expensive system when Kevin put it in, but it's paid off in dividends. My #1 job is to make the landowner happy. And I've been blessed to work with Kevin. So, that's my #1 goal every day, is to make sure I do what he needs to have done. So honestly, it's whatever the next landowner wants to make of this place. It's whatever their goals and their expectations are. The potential here is extraordinary. What we've been able to do with the quail it surprises everyone that comes out here. And I would say there's that much more potential in other wildlife species, whatever their interest is, whether it's deer or turkey or dove or rabbit hunting. I mean, there's potential on this property. So that's what I would want the new landowner to know. There's room to grow in various aspects. Every time I'm out here, whether it's on a side-by-side checking traps or on a tractor, every now and then you take a quick break and you turn the machine off and you sit there and you hear the quail calling and everything else around you, it gets quiet, and there's no peace like that. We're called to be good stewards of the land, and to have the opportunity, to work for Kevin and to work his property as he sees fits, and to do a good job at that, that's what keeps me going. I want to make sure I'm hitting all of his expectations.
I have a conservation easement on 95% of the property, and that is with the Georgia-Alabama Land Trust. They have been great partners as well, easy to work with. We've amended the easements since we first got it. So there's nothing that we can't do here that a new owner would want to do. But there's no restrictions whatsoever, other than the purpose of a conservation easement is to prevent development of the property. And that was done because this property doesn't need to be developed. It's too beautiful. And it's an easement in perpetuity, so I'll go to my grave with a smile on my face, knowing that the property that we developed here won't have apartments and houses on it, ever. If I left a note for the next owner, I would encourage them to be a great steward of this property and to continue the management program that we started here. Not just the quail plantation, but for all the woods, pastures, and everything else we've grown. This is a piece of history. It's a piece of property that will be protected forever. And I hope you will continue to do what we have done and not spare any expense to keep it like it is and grow it into a piece of property that you can be proud of as well.
As with any great endeavor, there comes a time to pass along even the culmination of a lifelong dream. When that moment arrives, landowners trust us to tell the land story, showcase its intrinsic value, and guide the next generation to continue the legacy they began. What's been achieved here is nothing short of spectacular. Although I've never officially ranked my personal favorite properties, Triple Creek would certainly be on the short list. The habitat, architecture, landowner leadership, and dedication of tall timbers has turned this into one of the finest sporting properties found anywhere. We hope this film has inspired you and showcased the incredible accomplishments here. Whether you're seeking a world-class hunting property, a secure investment, or even a social storm property, Triple Creek excels in all of the above. Allow us to help guide you and help build upon what has already been accomplished here as you customize it to your own adventure to help you accomplish your dream.